Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Criterion, your exclusive channel previewing and reviewing all new releases in the collection. In this edition, we'll be looking at the single release on Blu-ray for John Cassavetes' film, A Woman Under the Influence, with Gena, Rowlands and Peter Falk, coming to the collection. John Nicholas Cassavetes proved time and time again what a singular director he was, choosing to self-finance his work and stay outside of the studio system. And of course, he was also a prolific actor. Now everyone is no doubt aware of the Cassavetes 5 films set, often singled out for mention by many creatives visiting the Criterion closet. The 5 film set includes Shadows, Faces, Opening Night, The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, and of course the subject of today's edition, A Woman Under the Influence. John Cassavetes studied his craft at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and he started acting with the title role in NBC Television's Johnny Staccato. Films, of course, came soon afterwards, with Edge of the City from 1957, The Dirty Dozen from 1967, and of course one of his more famous roles in Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby from 1968, a title in the collection, and in Elaine May's crime drama alongside Peter Falk, Mikey and Nicky from 1976. As a director, he directed the films In the Set, as well as Husbands, of course, from 1970, and Love Streams from 1984, all of them, of course, in the Criterion collection. Now, John received the Academy Award nominations for Best Original Screenplay for Faces and for Best Director for A Woman Under the Influence. John was married to Gena Rowlands from 1954 up until his death in 1989, and he cast her in A Woman Under the Influence alongside his longtime friend Peter Falk. A Woman Under the Influence is a drama film from 1974, written and directed by John Cassavetes. Rowlands plays a housewife whose unusual behaviour leads to conflict with her blue-collar husband, Nick Longhetti, and their family. Now, this was John's 7th film as a director, and the film premiered at the New York Film Festival. But despite its positive reception there, John Cassavetes was unable to secure a distributor for the film. Cassavetes self-distributed through his company Faces International, booking the film in art house cinemas and college campuses. In the ensuing years, A Woman Under the Influence, of course, has been reappraised by critics and declared Cassavetes' definitive work. The film displays a high degree of naturalistic acting and camera work, certainly compared to most Hollywood films made at that time, and it was safe to say that Cassavetes, with his earlier work, had already paved this ground for filmmakers the likes of Francis Ford Coppola and William Friedkin to make changes within the Hollywood film system, leading to greater originality and movement away from formulaic filmmaking in the early 70s. The film's a story of a lower middle-class family in LA, and it explores what a woman is supposed to be in the society at that time. Peter Falk plays her husband, and Gena Rowlands plays his wife, Mabel. Now, she's trying so hard to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, and the perfect lover, that her mind starts to fracture. Now, in this film, it doesn't seem at all like there's a plot. Just this continuing question of, is she going to make it? The film feels like a documentary, in fact, like we're looking at things that people would prefer to just keep private. And in some ways, Hollywood's sensibility has softened our defences. We cut away from the uncomfortable scene at a point so you don't look at something too long. And while Cassavetes isn't rubbing your nose in this film, he is holding your head though, so you have to stare at something you're not used to looking at. Now, Mabel's not crazy, she's unusual. Nick puts on a brave face with regard to his wife. He wants his workmates to accept her. Nick is an LA construction supervisor and he's played by Peter Falk, better known of course to television audiences as Columbo, the taciturn detective. Here, Peter Falk has room to develop a complex character, a man devoted to his wife, but still struggling to cope with her eccentricities. Now, Mabel is, in fact, slightly mad. Gena Rowlands was Oscar nominated here for her performance. The craziness is not overtly engaging at first. For instance, she picks up a man at a bar. She is frustrated and annoyed when her husband cannot get promised time off work. And when she serves Nick's workmates dinner, she's vague and somewhat flirty. This famous spaghetti is embarrassing in its realism, and it almost seems to outstay its welcome. But when madness becomes seriously disturbing, we see such trivia in stark contrast. Mabel had been weird, but happily so. She didn't hurt herself or her children, but incarceration and electric shock treatment will take away all trace of levity. Never a threat to others, we sense that it is Mabel who feels understandably threatened. And how much of her madness is from misunderstanding male chauvinism? Now, John Cassavetes at the time had to hawk his film around in an attempt to get it shown, but of course today he's remembered as an auteur of almost legendary daring. A keen proponent of method acting, his script was tightly written and only the actors' attitudes to the dialogue are improvised. Yet somehow the film has a freewheeling quality, often emulated many years later by other filmmakers. How much are they influenced by circumstance, do we think? Characters are all dealt with sympathetically in the film, and it is unsettlingly easy to identify with the strong traits here. Determination to hold a family together in adversity, which makes us vulnerably open to the more distressing themes in the film itself. The film's structured into two pieces: the events leading up to Mabel's commitment to a mental hospital, and when she returns home. Now, the first part of the film is longer, and it lays out the argument for why Mabel never really had a chance in this environment. The most apt moment in the film to understand what it is like to be her is when she begins behaving strangely in front of Nick's co-workers, and the flirting. Nick loudly shouts her down here, creating an awkward silence in the room, and then he follows this up by having the gall to tell his wife, "Just be yourself." There's this conflict in that. Mabel's natural personality is volatile, overflowing with life, which is likely what drew Nick to her in the first place when they were young. Yet she has had her identity submerged through the years, and Mabel, as an individual now, simply doesn't exist. Instead, she serves as a wife and mother, and a hostess. Now, of course, this doesn't mean the film is concerned with castigating Nick. Instead, John Cassavetes embraces the chaos of simply being human and how difficult specific experiences can be. There's no judgment cast against anyone's behaviour, just endless empathy for these people in a situation that would break any of us. Nick's mother is played by Cassavetes' own mother, Catherine. Now, she's also a presence who bides her time, but when she speaks up, it hits hard. When Nick wavers about sending Mabel off to a mental health facility, Catherine bellows that this woman is crazy and won't let her anywhere near her grandchildren. And you can immediately sympathise with Mabel here, who does not have a strong hold over her emotions, feeling threatened at being kept away from her own children. If her identity is tied to these children's existences, then taking them from her isn't so simple. You are fracturing her sense of self even further. But Catherine is right, of course. You have to be very careful when exposing children to someone going through a distressing mental health episode. Now, in this film, Cassavetes fills the frame with chaos. The chaos might be the setup of the home, within the couple's bedroom, sharing the same space as the dining room. The disorder could be the camera, following the children as they escape their bedroom to comfort their mother after their father tells them to go to sleep. Now, in the third act of the film, there's an image that cuts through like a knife. Now, I won't say any more about this, I'll let you discover this for yourself. As always in these sorts of situations, the film concludes without Mabel or Nick or anyone coming to a greater understanding of what has actually happened. Nick is obviously mentally unwell. He sees a co-worker get terribly injured and has to keep ploughing ahead. He realises how little of a connection he has with his children, not in the way he sees their love for Mabel. We walk away from the movie without knowing what will happen next. It's straightforward to infer where this couple is going to from here. They might live in quiet misery until they die or someone decides to divorce the other, embittering them both or even suicide, as one scene in the film alludes to. A Woman Under the Influence is foremost a picture about lovers at war. They don't know why they are fighting, and they generally love each other. But the dissonance in their environment and in their relationship also makes them want to destroy each other. Now, few modern films manage to capture the aching tragedy of trying to love another person in a world where you don't even know yourself, and thus don't understand why someone could love you. But in this film, Cassavetes captures it all so brutally and tenderly. A Woman Under the Influence from 1974 was shot by Mitch Bright and Al Rubin. It utilises a gritty, naturalistic cinema verite style to create an intense, fly-on-the-wall experience of domestic turmoil. The film employs tight, often handheld close-ups with the camera and long, drifting or zooming takes to capture the raw, emotional breakdown of the main character Mabel, while minimising camera movement to focus purely on the performances themselves. Now, the original cinematographer for the film was Caleb Deschanel, but he was fired early in production after creative differences. Mike Ferris was a cameraman who actually stepped in despite having never shot a feature film before. Now, this Blu-ray is the same high-definition restoration that is at present in the 5-film set. It comes with its mono soundtrack and with these special features. Audio commentary by sound recordist and composer Bo Harwood and camera operator Michael Ferris. Conversation between actors Gena Rowlands and Peter Falk. Archival audio interview with director John Cassavetes by film historians Michel Simon and Michael Wilson. Trailer and a stills gallery featuring behind-the-scenes production photos. And as always, we have an essay by critic Kent Jones and an interview with John Cassavetes from 1975. And the cover art is by Lucien S.Y. Yang. A Woman Under the Influence is a treat for serious film lovers, but some viewers may find the style too serious or demanding of hard work. It refuses to be entertainment, even in the grand melodrama style of comparable movies such as Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. It also switches jarringly between theatricality, an indication of Cassavetes' theatrical roots, and outdoor action scenes necessary to show Nick's work persona, his ability to cope with the children when Mabel is away, and Mabel's sorrowfully unbalanced outer shell when she frightens people just by asking them the time. Flawed and uneven, A Woman Under the Influence is still today a jewel to be treasured. Now, the film has a running time of 147 minutes, somewhat long, and it's in an aspect ratio of 185:1, and it releases on Tuesday the 10th of February, and it has an existing spine in the Criterion collection already of 253. And this is the Blu-ray. There is no DVD being released at this time. Next time on Let's Talk Criterion, we'll be taking a look at Jacques Tati and his masterwork from 1967, the comic genius on display in Playtime. It's coming to the collection on 4K UHD. So until next time from me, as always, it's goodbye, and above all, good Criterion viewing.